Are you ready to see the most insane, dangerous, and jaw-dropping rally crashes ever caught on camera? From barrel rolls, flips, and massive shunts, these have it all. So buck up and hold on tight for the worst rally crashes in history. First up was a very unlucky day for Soyla and his co-pilot. At Rally Sliven in 2021, Soyla was attacking the stage while driving down a very unassuming stretch of tarmac. What he didn't see was the huge bump in the middle of the road that was about to take him for the ride of his life. While driving flat out in his Skoda, he hit the compression and his car landed awkwardly, instantly launching him straight off the road at crazy speed. He flew through the ditch and went down into a dip, and his car rolled straight onto its roof in a massive impact that flipped his car over in a horrific way. It bounced a crazy height into the air, and parts of the car were ripped off as if it were a toy. The landing wasn't any smoother, as it smashed off the ground with a massive thud, leaving smoke billowing from the car. Spectators watched on in disbelief and feared the worst, thinking there was no way that a human could survive this wreck. Another ridiculous roll was courtesy of Mikko Hirvonen in his Ford Focus RS. During Rally Finland in 2010, Hirvonen was somehow caught completely off guard by his favorite corner in WRC. While on the dangerous dirt stage, he was driving his Focus RS fiercely on the limit, leaving nothing on the table and using every inch of road that was available. But when he came to the big jump, things quickly took a turn for the worst. He flicked the car into the turn and took the jump sideways, but when it landed, he suddenly lost control completely and his car was thrown in the opposite direction, straight towards the ditch. Out of nowhere, it went airborne and flipped over in a terrifying moment for the Finn. It then violently rolled over and over again, tearing pieces of bodywork off in the process. They endured massive hits on every possible part of the car in a violent display of rally car acrobatics, and it eventually came to a stop after barrel rolling almost 10 times. Surely rally crashes don't get much scarier than this. Well, if you thought they couldn't, Fourmaux is here to prove you wrong. This absolutely monster crash during the 2022 Monte Carlo rally is something that rally drivers and co-pilots around the world see in their nightmares. Fourmaux was piloting his Ford Puma Rally 1 down a treacherous mountain pass in cold, slippery conditions, pushing it to the absolute max. All of a sudden, he saw his life flash before his eyes, in a crash that was unlike anything ever seen before. He took a corner too fast and hit the side of the mountain, instantly flipping his car airborne and onto its side. And it couldn't have happened in a worse location, because straight ahead was a massive drop down the side of the mountain. His car was launched off the mountain and through a bunch of trees and tumbled at crazy speed down a massive drop, flipping and rolling in the process. The crash was so hard that it tore his car into pieces. The roll cage was the only thing not destroyed once the car came to a stop at the bottom. Another man who knows about their rally car being absolutely wrecked is Neuville. During Rally Chile 2019, the Frenchman almost met his maker while flying through the fast forest in South America. Driving flat out on a tight stage with the sun in your eyes is not ideal for a WRC driver. But this is the exact scenario Neuville found himself in. As he took a right-hand jump in his Hyundai i20, he underestimated how tight the corner was and smashed into the banking on the exit. He was shocked when he lost control and his car flipped onto its roof, sliding down the road upside down. Before he knew it, it started barrel rolling and he became a passenger in his own car. It violently flipped multiple times, smashing hard off the ground and the banking, ripping up his car along the way. It eventually came to a stop on its side, and it was clear that the damage was massive. Neuville was lucky to be alive. But before we move on to another rally car taking flight, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more motorsports content like this. In case one flying rally car wasn't enough for you, here's a second one. This time it was Tanak who took off during the Monte Carlo rally, making it for one of the downright scariest rally crashes ever seen. He slightly misjudged a right-hand corner while driving flat out, and it pulled the car out of his hands, leaving him helpless with the speed he was carrying. Unfortunately for him, it was right beside a massive drop off the mountain. He went headfirst off the side and made a gigantic impact with the earth, smashing his car and sending him flying through the cold mountain air. He went straight through a bunch of trees and continued to fall for hundreds of feet as he held on inside for dear life. Through all of this, his car flipped and rolled multiple times, taking more hits than anyone could count, before coming to rest in a crumpled ball of metal at the bottom of the mountain. We're not finished with flying cars just yet. This next crash is both crazy and lucky at the same time. It doesn't get much closer than this. Driver Pietro Scavone was pushing his Renault Clio to the limits through the tight roads of North Italy during the jolly Rally Valle d'Aosta. These narrow passes punish the smallest of mistakes hugely, and the tiniest slip-up can have massive consequences. And this driver found this out the hard way. Pietro took the left-hander with too much speed and drove straight towards the grass on the outside, causing his Clio to mount the banking and take off. Suddenly, his car was hurtling out of control towards a group of spectators who were forced to think fast. In a crazy scene, the car went airborne and straight for the spectators, as if it was intent on causing damage. After smashing into the ground, it flipped and rolled right into the middle of the crowd. Miraculously, nobody was injured in this crash, and it remains one of the luckiest moments in rallying history. Fourmaux returns for this next crash, this time with his crazy smash in Belgium in 2021. He was in his Ford Puma Rally 1, threading it through the tight corners in the Belgian countryside when disaster struck. He clipped the outside banking, and it wrecked the rear end of his car on impact, firing it into the air. The car spun around and instantly rolled in an extremely violent snap, sending debris everywhere. It continued to spin and smash the ground in every way imaginable. And before Fourmaux and his co-pilot knew it, they were heading towards an electricity pole. They smashed off it hard and eventually came to a stop. The in-car camera was terrifying, and it showed the insane speed that they were carrying when they crashed. He won't forget this one for a long time. Neuville is back again with this outrageous roll from 2014. This crash was one of the scariest and most spectacular in recent history. It occurred on the Shakedown stage before the start of the rally, when Neuville was pushing hard to get familiar with his new Hyundai i20. All of a sudden, he lost control on an extremely fast corner, and his car went straight off the road into a massive drop. It rolled through the field 6 times before coming to a stop, in a crash that looks like it came straight out of a video game. The onboard camera gives a sense of the terror from within the car and shows how bad the crash truly was. Ken Block was best known for his incredible car control from his world-famous Gymkhana video series. His ability to push his car to the limits was incredible and demanded respect. However, everyone makes mistakes, and Ken made one in 2011 that resulted in this monster crash at Rally Portugal. Block was driving his Ford Fiesta RS WRC on a dirt stage with very little grip, when all of a sudden, disaster struck. He smashed into the banking, and it fired his car into the air, twisting him sideways at the same time. He was launched onto his roof, and the car smashed heavily off the ground and began to roll out of nowhere. The speed at which it rolled while airborne was both incredible and terrifying at the same time, and the impact when it landed again was devastating. He was then pitched into the ditch, and the car made another crazy impact with the ground, finally ending this ride from hell for Block and his co-pilot. This was one of the wildest and fastest crashes in WRC history for one of the series' most beloved drivers. If you haven't seen enough rally cars rolling for one day, this next one is just for you. This absolutely insane crash happened for the Finn jari-matti Latvala when he was driving in Portugal in 2009. He was on the limit of the car's performance on one of the most terrifying stages imaginable, with massive falls waiting for any driver that went off the road. And that's exactly what Latvala did. In a split second, he smashed into the side of the cliff on his left-hand side, a crash which on its own would have been bad enough, but unluckily for Latvala, it shot him across the road. His car smashed through the barrier and he went straight off the side of the mountain. His car fell a ridiculous height, tumbling down the side of the mountain and hitting off everything in its way. The car took too many hits to count and was completely destroyed. This crash was one for the ages and is every rally driver's worst nightmare. Finally, this crazy error from Chris Rosenberger during Rally Weiss in 2021 might just be the most stunning crash ever. Driving his Skoda, Rosenberger was attacking a series of corners hard and took far too much speed into a tight right-hander. It left him with no way out, and he drove straight off the side of the road at insane speed. In a moment that looked like he was launched off a ramp, Rosenberger's car went airborne and flew straight down into a dip in the forest, and the impact was colossal. The front of his car took a horrific blow, scrubbing off almost all the speed instantly in the worst possible scenario for a crash. The car then flipped over and hit the ground hard another 5 times, creating one of the most unbelievable crashes ever seen. And with this smashed up Skoda, these were the worst rally crashes in history. Please leave a comment and let us know which crash you thought was the worst, and tell us if we missed any. Please smash the like button and subscribe for more motorsports content. This has been Racers Reverie. See you in the next video.